Let's move on to our next topic. We spoke about the guf and the neshama. Now we discussed the neshama. Right? We've been doing that for the past few classes. Now we're going to talk about the guf. Because the fact we're given a body, a guf, means that it's important, isn't it? Okay, that wasn't rhetorical. We're given a guf and a neshama, a body and a soul. We discussed the neshama. We discussed what happened to Adam Rishon and Gan Eden. We figured out how to purify the body. We said it's going to take 6,000 years to purify it, end up with Tchiat HaMeitim. But what about the body? How do we Jews view the body itself? So to do this, we're going to look at the Rambam, and we're going to study, this is by the way just a piece of it, but what I consider to be, and I've heard to be, the least studied Rambam in all of his writings by the Jewish people. Because it talks about health, healing, and exercise. And this is found in the Mishnah Torah. The Rambam, when he wrote his Magnus Opus, the Mishnah Torah, which literally means the repetition of the Torah, where all of his laws of the mitzvot are listed, and you'll find the laws of Shabbat, and the laws of Tefillin, the laws of Tzedakah, the laws of Yom Kippur, every mitzvah, he stops, and he starts to describe the important obligation we Jews have to take care of our bodies. So we all know that the soul is kadosh, is holy. But is the body holy? How do we Jews view the body itself? Let's have a look at the amazing words of the Rambam. And this is in Hilchot Deyot, Laws of Conduct, chapter 3, verse 3. He says, Yasim aliba sheyeh gufa shalem. A person is obligated to ensure that their body is shalem v'chazak, whole and strong. Shitiyeh nafsha, so that your soul, these by the way, these amazing words. If you just hear these words this semester, it was worth me being here. So that your soul will be yeshara, straight, ledat Hashem, to know God. If you don't take care of your body, and he's going to tell you how, then forget your soul. Your soul is not going to know God. It's impossible. You cannot expect to be a holy person. You cannot expect to be a person who learns and knows God and becomes a wise individual. If you're always hungry and always ill, or one of your limbs hurts you. It's impossible, he's saying, to be a spiritual person without taking care of your body. It's a contradiction. Because it's impossible, he says, to serve God unless you take care of your body. By the way, anyone heard these words before the Rambam? Right, no one has. I don't know why they don't teach this to us when we're in yeshiva growing up. I don't understand. It's amazing to me. He's saying you cannot be a spiritual Jew, you cannot have a connection to God unless you take care of your body. He's going to go through more details. Some of it a little bit graphic. You had your hand up. They are expected, so everyone is expected to take care of themselves and increase their body function as much as they're able to. He's going to mention at the end. He says some illnesses are strong and they have it, whatever reason they have it. But it's a challenge. It's more challenging for a person who's got physical ailments to be concerned with their spirituality. Like, we don't have it, right? You're lying in bed, you're sick with flu, or if, like me, just a cold, just lying, I'm going to die, So that really, is a problem. That's going to affect your connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's going to keep going. One second. He wrote this for Stern students, 2017. And I tell this to every student that I have, at least in the introductory levels. Va'afilu b'shashu yashen, even the amount of time you sleep. Every Stern student, I got 2 hours last night. I got 3 hours last night. I was like, I saw it. You have to sleep. And it's going to give you an amount of time, by the way. You have to sleep. Anyone know how long, according to Judaism, you should sleep a night? 8 hours. Everyone. 8 hours. 8 hours is how long you should sleep. Right? Sleep is, by the way, they say sleep is incredibly healthy. Right? You read articles all the time now that people have weight problems or lose weight. It's impossible to lose weight unless you get a good night's sleep. A good night's sleep is crucial. Right? so that a person should have the intention, is allowing his mind and body to rest, right? It happens to be the Rambam was a doctor, and there's a big discussion whether a lot of this information is coming from his medical works or not. But by the way, you read this, it's like reading a book 2017. It's like unbelievable. You must sleep. You're not able to serve God if you're sick, right? And you don't sleep. If you don't sleep well, you're not serving Hashem. One of the keys to serving God, to being a spiritual person, is by getting a good night's sleep. So when someone says to me, I got 3 hours of sleep last night, I'm like, that's a mistake. And if you can only get 5 hours, take one during the day. Make up for it. Maintaining a healthy and sound body is one of the ways Hashem to serve God. B'darach Hashem. You serve God by taking care of your body. Right? We don't neglect it. You take care of it. We wash ourselves, we clean ourselves, we exercise, we are meant to eat healthily, and he goes into various foods. I just brought down a few of them. Okay, how you eat, how much you eat. This is one of the ways you serve God. It's such a soul worship, your body too. Okay, now we mentioned before that Tchiat HaMeitim, resurrection of the dead, your body's going to come back. It's impossible to really know God. Therefore, you are obligated to distance yourself from various things that make you sick and hurt your body, and to accustom yourself and to take care of yourself. And he says, and let me explain to you what that means. Bottom of page 9. It's worth reading these words once in your life. Liolam, lo yachal adam ela kashuraev. Don't eat unless you're hungry. Which is for us is a anathema. What was that? I eat because it smells good, it tastes good. No, eat when you're hungry. V'lo yishte ela kashut sameh, and don't drink until you're thirsty. V'yali shet nekavav. Now you're going to talk about this a lot. Do not delay going to the bathroom. Afilu rega achad. Even one moment. Holding in, going to the bathroom is one of the worst things you do. The body says the Rambam. Elakol zman shetzarech lashtin olasikad raglav. You need to go to the bathroom, number 1, and number 2. Yamod miyad. Go right away. Now, I didn't bring it down, but he actually goes through 10 times a day. You need to check whether you need the bathroom. Before and after you go to sleep. Before and after you exercise. Before and after you sleep, you eat. Right? All these things. You should be checking yourself to see if you need the bathroom. Next page. A person should not eat until his stomach is full. Right? At the end of a meal, you should not feel as though you are stuffed. Now, you know that feeling when you're like, oh, I can't move? He says, that's not good. Right? Ella, yifchot kamat revia misvato. You should stop when you eat about 3/4 full until you're saveh, until your satisfaction. Now, how to figure out when you're 3/4 full? Before you're full, I guess, yeah. If you start to feel, you have to know yourself, you know? You have to know yourself. This is just the highlights. I just brought the main ones down. Don't drink too much while you're eating. Ela ma'at, take a little bit. Umazot biyayin, take a little bit of wine, which you're all too young to drink at this point. You can have grape juice. Okay, sure. When you see that your stomach starts to digest the food, you should drink water, and then you should drink a lot of it. Don't drink too much, right? But just enough to help you with your digestion. Do not eat until you've checked yourself, see whether you need the bathroom or not. Okay? And don't eat until you've taken a stroll, till you've warmed up your body. He said you should exercise before you eat. Before you eat, you should exercise and warm your body up. Okay? Or, last paragraph. You should work, exert yourself in some other way. If you're not walking, do some exercise, engage your body until you produce some sweat. Right? And then you should wash your body in hot water. Okay? And then you should eat. So this is an exercise. So we're basically saying, just to be clear, it is a mitzvah to limit the amount we eat. And the Ramban, Nachmanides, concurs with this. He actually says this is the way to Kedusha, to holiness, is by being limiting the amount we eat, right? Enough to live, right? Don't, live to eat, but eat to live. And exercising is a mitzvah. Exercising a mitzvah, you should be exercising 3 to 4 times a week, getting your heart rate up. And when you do that, l'shem shemayim, you're playing a mitzvah. Whatever it says. I mean, this is the Rambam, the same Rambam that gives the laws of the rest of the Torah. Okay, I added a lot more this semester. I hope you don't mind. You find this interesting? I don't know. I think it's important. Okay. Page 11. Leolam kishiyachal adam yeshev b'makomo. You should always eat while seated. Right? Not like us at the smorgasbord of the wedding, where we're like walking around stuffing our faces. You should sit and eat. The idea of fast food is not a Jewish concept. And if you ate it, it's like not even food, most of it. Right? And you should lean to your left. Why should you lean to your left? What does that sound familiar? Pesach, right. Why do you lean to the left on Pesach? Why do you lean to your left on Pesach? It does help your digestion. That is true. But there's also that is why you lean, but why to the left? You lean because what? Nice. There's a little flap that goes over your windpipe, right? And when you lean to the left, it's closed. You lean to the right, it's open. Therefore, you should lean to the left as a health measure. Why we lean on Pesach is because we're free people. We want kids to ask questions, right? But the left has a medical quality too. You shouldn't walk around, shouldn't stroll until you digest your food. About 30 minutes, they say. Right? Remember your mum said, don't swim right after eating? Remember that? Could have been right with that one. Okay. The day is made up of 24 hours. You should sleep for a third of that, which is 8, right? 8 hours a night. Later on, right? You should try to rise with the beginning of sunrise. Yeah. And that's how you should start your day. Don't sleep. He's telling you how to sleep even. Don't sleep on your face or on your back. Try to be on your side, on your left side at the beginning of the night, and then mix up on your right side, says the Rambam. But when I learned this the first time about, 20 years ago, I couldn't believe this was actually written in Jewish writings. Right? They saying it. You should be al sad small, or b'sof halayla ad sad yamin, v'lo yishan samach lachila. Don't sleep before you, don't eat right before you sleep. Actually, he's going to give you an amount of time. He says you should actually go to bed hungry by 3 or 4 hours. I believe the Shulchan Aruch, Rav Yosef Karo, changed that to 2 hours. It is not paskin like this. But you should not stuff your face and go to sleep. That's actually, I believe, what sumo wrestlers do. Right? They eat for it and then spend the whole night and they just wake up like, size of a planet. Right? You should be having a meal and eating no food. You can drink water before you go to sleep. He says 3 or 4 hours. Which means if you go to bed at what time? I don't know, 11 o'clock? Alright? 11 to 7. What's wrong with that? Anyone go to bed before 11 o'clock? Who here gets 8 hours sleep a night? Put your hands up. Who gets 7 hours a night? 6? 5? 4? Wow, I don't know where you're partying. I want to join you. I tell you, that sounds great. Wait till you have kids. The greatest pleasure in life is sleep. There ain't air. It beats food. It beats everything. It's like, I'm going to sleep. Oh, my God. Oh, that's the best. Okay, so do not eat too much before you sleep. Let's say, this is this amazing food idea. If you want to eat poultry and meat in one sitting, you should start with the lighter food, he says, then the heavier one. If you're going to have salad and chicken, go for the salad first. You want to eat the lighter food first, then the heavier food, because your stomach is digesting it, and I guess it gets stuck behind it somehow. So always start with the lighter food, and then go for the other. V'chen, beitim basar, off ochel b'tchila. So beitim, always eat the lighter food before the heavier one. Okay, so chicken or cattle or beef, start with the chicken. Okay, always eat, that's the concept. Basar daka, right, should be before the heavier one. Va'od klal acher, and there's another principle when it comes to the physical well-being. Kozman shadam mit amel, whatever you're doing, exercise, v'yageh harveh ve'enos saveh me'avav, rafen lechola, and you don't eat to a point of satisfaction, and you have a loose stool, excuse me for the details, but it says, you won't get sick. Right? You'll grow strong, even if you eat some harmful foods. You can get away with some garbage eating as long as the rest of your life you are following a fairly well-balanced diet. Okay? Turn over the page. But a person who sits idle and does not exercise, or you delay going to the bathroom, or kashin, or you're constipated, which he considers to be one of the worst things a person can go through for health. Even if you eat good foods, right? And you follow the you're going to get weaker and sicker and sicker. Okay? V'achila gasa leguf, overeating, kol adam kamos samamavet is a poison. The worst thing you do for your body is to overeat. You can get away with garbage foods as long as you don't overeat, he says. That is the root of all sickness. He says that most of those which affect the person are caused by harmful foods or by filling your body with bad foods. And then he quotes Shlomo HaMelech. He says, don't be surprised what I'm telling you. Shlomo HaMelech in Proverbs, in Mishlei tells us, if you guard your mouth and your tongue, you guard yourself, you guard your soul. Now, why does he say your mouth and your tongue? Why does he say your mouth and your tongue? What does the tongue represent? Lashon hara, right? He says, so you have to watch what comes out of your mouth. We all talk about that, Lashon hara. That's going to affect your soul. Why the mouth? Because the mouth is how you chew and eat. He says, so Rambam is saying that Shlomo HaMelech in Mishlei is telling us, guard what you eat, and that's how you guard your soul. Because your body and soul are together. And they work in tandem. They work in tandem. And therefore, take care of what you eat. You're going to take care of your soul as well. That is what Shlomo HaMelech, the wisest of all people, is telling us. Learn that verse. Right? Shomer piv l'shono, shomer mitzarat nafsho. Klomar, shomer piv mlechol machal ra. Guard your mouth from eating bad foods. Okay? And from overeating. Okay? And then the Rambam was a guarantee, page 12. Whoever follows this route of this derech, of eating and exercise, I guarantee that you will not become ill your entire life. That's a big guarantee of the Rambam. It's a big guarantee. Right? You'll hardly need a doctor. You'll live a long life. Eating, exercise, sleeping well. This is how to reach a long life. Okay? And it'll keep your body healthy the entire time. He says, however, here's the caveat to the guarantee. There's always a caveat, isn't there? It could be that a person is born with a sickness for whatever reason. We'll see maybe later on in the semester why God would do that. Or a person gets very sick because they didn't follow these instructions from the beginning. He says, so at that point, says the Rambam, then you're going to have to go to the doctor, take all the medications you need. But that doesn't take you away from following a healthy lifestyle. Okay? And that's why he says at the bottom, all of these habits, v'kol haminhagot hatovim ha'ilu, shabarnu, ein roi lanhig behen el habari, aval hachole, or mishachad mevar, person who's sick or has a bad limb, then they've got to go to the doctor, obviously, and get it fixed out. Okay? But he's saying, if you eat well, and remember, he was a doctor. He was actually a doctor, the Sultan of Egypt. Right. He was the only person he trusted, the Rambam, say the historians, to take care of all of his wives and his harem. Right? Because he knew he was a holy Jew, and he wouldn't act inappropriately. So he made him the official doctor of the royal palace in Egypt. Yeah.
I thought this was interesting. I love him. He also was the first person to successfully deliver a C-section.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, I read his books.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
That is fascinating. Okay. First C-section. Interesting. Okay. He says you have to follow this your entire life when you're young and when you're old. He also mentions elsewhere, I didn't bring it down, that when you eat your food, you have to chew it so it becomes like liquid. You should be eating whole pieces, right? Your stomach doesn't have teeth. Right? You've got to chew your food very, very, very well. That was a quick summary, but that is the mitzvah. And as he says, you will not know Hashem without doing that. Yeah.
Two questions. Okay, the first question is, the Rambam said that if you're born with like a disability or something, does that include like if your DNA has the gene for cancer? Does that count as a genetic disability?
It could be. Even so, a person has to take care of themselves. But you see healthy people get sick with things beyond their control. They eat well, and he says that could well be that was implanted in them from their birth. It could well be.
And so also, like the Rambam says to only do healthy things. Is that why a lot of people? I've always heard that there's like a group of Jews that don't smoke because of this reason.
Okay.
Because there's like.
I'm
a place
so
in the Torah
pleased you asked that question. Did you hear the question? She said there's a group of Jews that don't smoke because of smoking is asur. Totally, what we just said, it is totally forbidden. It is known as a fact. It wasn't always known. Right? Going back 50, 60 people were smoking, the doctor was smoking. It is asur. I say midoraita to smoke. You're going against everything the Rambam says. You walk into a kosher store, by the way. Just as the food is kosher, as we'll see, doesn't mean it's healthy. Okay, this is not kashrut. You can eat kosher food and still be eating terrible food or overeating, as the Ramban is about to tell us. We'll do this piece in a second. It is forbidden to smoke. Absolutely forbidden to do anything that is going to shorten your life or be the detriment of your health. You're shortening your soul in this world. Why do we see religious Jews smoke? Series we see religious do many, many bad things. I'm not judging them, but it's still forbidden. I mean, there's many things that I do that are forbidden. I'm not going to lie to you, right? Thank God smoking isn't one of them. It is forbidden. If something is ruled and seen by the medical establishment, and we know it's bad for you, because on the packet itself it says, this is going to kill you, right? It's not like a big secret anymore. It is forbidden to smoke. Anyone, right? But as a religious Jew, it is forbidden to smoke, or do anything which is going to be detrimental to your health.
And like, what about drinking, which is probably more acceptable?
So again, in excess, right? In excess it would be. Seemingly a little bit, could even be good for you. They say some red wine, you know what I'm saying, some wine. But anything to excess is going to be forbidden. Let's see the Rambam on that. Let's see the Rambam on that. Page 13. Let's put this together and let's finish this off. Says the Ramban. This is the Ramban now, Nachmanides, yeah? We saw the Rambam, now the Ramban. Oh, by the way, I should have mentioned one thing. The body itself has a level of kedusha, of holiness. This is important. Why would the body be holy when eventually ends up rotting and comes from the earth, as we says? And the answer is because of its proximity to the soul. Since it is the kli, the vessel, which contains the soul, so too the body becomes holy for that reason. That's why we bury the body. That's why, Rahman Aslan, if a person is in a situation, body parts are all collected and buried, right? That's called Zakah organization. The body itself has kedusha and must be buried. Okay? Just like a Torah scroll, this is the analogy which I heard as a child, which stayed in my head, so I'll share it with you. The Torah is kadosh, but the Torah is covered in a piece of velvet, right? Is that velvet holy? No, it's a piece of velvet. It's given a piece of fabric. But once it becomes close to the Torah, it takes on what's called a level of Tashmisha Kedusha. It comes close to it. It comes into contact with holiness. Therefore, it becomes holy. Therefore, we kiss the soul. Right? So too, the body contains the soul. Therefore, the body itself has in itself a level of Kedusha for that same reason. Because of its job carrying the soul, allowing the soul to fulfill its mission in this world, and containing the soul within it. So the body is Kadosh, and that is one of the reasons why the Rambam is saying, take care of your body, it is Kadosh. You can't fulfill mitzvot unless you take care of your body.
So the rabbis that believe that you can donate your organs after you die, like what do they use to back up their opinion?
It's a very good question, which I'm not going to get into right now. There's a whole organization that talks about organ donation, but they believe that obviously it's going to another body, helping someone else live. That's the basic premise. The question is how to define death. That's the slightly controversial area. At what point is a person really dead? Is it breath? Is it brain function, heart function? You know what I'm saying? So that falls into that. That is outside the purview of our discussion. Okay, let's go to the Ramban. The Ramban is going to go with the Rambam and talk about limiting what we eat, and actually is going to define holiness by food. Says the Ramban, we have a mitzvah to be kadosh, holy. Now, according to Rashi, which I did not mention, Rashi says this is not a mitzvah. Kedusha, kadosh, kadoshim to you. The Torah says you should be holy. You should be holy, right? According to Rashi, holiness is an outcome of not doing sins and doing mitzvot. Okay, write that down. Rashi's interpretation of this mitzvah actually says it's not a mitzvah. It's not one of the 630 commandments. According to Rashi, don't sin, do mitzvot, you become holy. That's the derech kedusha. So it's not a mitzvah in the Torah. It's just a result of doing the mitzvot. That's how to become holy. So when it says kadoshim to you, right? Become holy, that's Rashi. The Ramban comes from the opposite direction, and that's the one we're going to look at right now. And the Ramban says no. He says, you do not become holy by doing mitzvot and not doing sins. That doesn't make you holy, that makes you Jewish. The Ramban says, when you see his words inside, he says this mitzvah of Kedusha, of being holy, comes by not avoiding sins, by limiting what you're allowed. In other words, it doesn't come as a result of not doing what you're not allowed to do. He says by limiting what you are allowed to do. You get that? It's the exact opposite. Let's see inside, he'll explain to us. So this is the Rambam on Parshas Kedoshim, obviously, in Vayikra, Yutet, Pasuk Aleph. And he says, Va'inyan ki haTorah hara v'arayat or machlem asurim. This idea of holy, become a holy people, become a holy nation, is that the Torah prohibited immoral relations and forbidden foods, as we're going to see, okay, as well as consumption of food and wine. Imkain, he says, therefore, yimsa balataiva, a person could theoretically find himself in a place where they're acting out on your desires. However, you're still shatuf bezima and still very involved in overdoing your desires. In other words, according to the Torah, it is possible that a person can keep kosher and be faithful and be kosher and everything else, and still be, as he's going to call it, a disgusting person, a naval, b'reshut Torah, with the permission of the Torah. A person can become, he says, a naval, b'reshut HaTorah. How? I'm eating kosher. So he says, fine, you're eating kosher, and you drink kosher wine, but you're eating 3 pizza pies, and you're drinking 4 bottles of wine. He says, by doing so, you have transgressed this mitzvah of kadoshim to you by living excessively. That's the Rambam. You've been a disgusting person with the permission of the Torah, because the Torah says you're allowed to drink wine if it's kosher, and you're allowed to eat food if it's kosher. You're allowed to have intimacy if it's done kosher. But he says if you overdo it, you miss out. So actually the Ramban, unlike Rashi, lists this as one of the 630 mitzvot. When a person overindulges on what's permitted to them, they've actually transgressed this mitzvah of Kedoshim Tiyu. According to Rashi, it's not a mitzvah. It's a result of doing mitzvah and not doing Aveirot. According to the Ramban Nachmanides, no. You are transgressing one of the 630 mitzvot, which is Kedoshim Tiyu. He says he lists this in his 630 mitzvot and says, overindulgence makes you into Naval B'Shat Torah. You become a disgusting person with the permission of the Torah. Okay, let's just see it inside. A person is involved in too much relations. Harba Valiot, Mesove Yayin, he drinks too much wine. Mezoli Basar, overeats meat, right, and all the rest of it. Veidaber Kitsona, right, and you say and do whatever you want. He says, even though everything you're doing is kosher per se, naval Torah. I put it in the bold. You become a disgusting person with the Torah. He says, you've removed yourself from this mitzvah. And that's why he says, Lefikach, Bakar Tov Achrei Prat. That's why the Torah enumerated things that are completely prohibited. And then it adds an extra prohibition of Kedoshim Tiyu. He says, although you can do it, take it easy. Limit the amount. Separate yourself from what is mutalach. Separate yourself from what is permitted to you. So Rashi says, separate from what's forbidden, become holy. Ramban, separate from what's forbidden to become holy. That's the root. That's the root of the Ramban. By limiting and not excess in too much physical pleasure. Enjoy, eat, just don't overeat. Right? Drink some wine, right? But don't overdrink. And anything else you can imagine, yes.
All those holidays are like 4 days long, and you have to eat meat for lunch and dinner, and you can't.
It's Rosh Hashanah, it's Pesach.
Yeah, and you can't. It's Shabbat, so you can't really
Very
exercise.
good. Great question. You can go for walks, by the way, and enjoy a walk, a stroll. There, the mitzvah is to eat good food. You know, going back in history, that was the only good food they ever ate. We eat like this the whole week. That's why. We're not used to this. Right? If I say to you, I'm going for, a steak right now, you'd be like, yeah, go for a steak. That steak, you're going back, we're not eating steak during the week. Right? They had like 1 meal a day, 1 meal a week. So we're definitely in a society where overdoing it is. Having said that, even then, this mitzvah will still apply. You should eat, but don't fill yourself up. The Rambam says, fill yourself up to your 3/4 full. And the Ramban is going to say, if you overdo it, even on this holiday, you can eat more, and you should eat better foods. It's a mitzvah, all right? More so on Shabbat. He says, but still, you should have to limit it. But I know you're talking about. And the holiday, I feel disgusting.
Yeah.
Okay, let's finish the Ramban, and we'll finish class. What time is it? Okay. Lefikach, he says, so that's why it says, a person should parush, separate themselves from that what is mutalach, the kadesh atzmo, and that is how you sanctify yourself, make yourself holy. Min hayayin b'miuto, drink wine, enjoy the physical pleasures, don't overdo it. Right? V'gam yishmo piv v'lashono, right? And therefore watch what you eat, your mouth from excess eating and from foul speech. Right? That was the Shlomo HaMelech piece, remember? Lashon and piv. He says, don't disgrace yourself by eating the wrong foods, unhealthy foods, and of course non-kosher, but he's assuming we're all eating kosher. He's talking about excess eating of kosher food and how you speak, don't use foul language. Okay? And actually, you may recognize this expression. Beriboy ba'achila gasa. Anyone see the word achila gasa sound familiar to you? Where do you see those words? On Yom Kippur. One of the things we're clapping al chait is achila gasa. Right? You actually have to do teshuvah for overeating. That's this expression, right? I mean, hadibur nimos, and from speaking disgusting things. Ache gilu prishut, and he says until a person is control of themselves, right? Which I'm not there yet. I still overeat. Never mind. Kamasha amru al Rabbi Chia shalot sach sicha batelet miyamav. Rabbi Chia from the Gemara never said an extraneous word his entire life. Now we're not there, but it's worth knowing that someone who was, right? Ve'elu kiyotze behen ba mitzvah hazot aklalit achrei sheprat kol haveirot shehen asur lagamrei. This general precept refers to those and simple things after the Torah is enumerated, the things you can and cannot do. Just says do this, don't do that. It says end the conversation. Now let's talk about what you're doing. Right? He said that's the flow of the Torah. Torah said you don't do this, do that, and then kadoshim to you. Watch what you do. Questions, thoughts, comments? Okay. And the next section is going to take us to a much bigger discussion, as we're going to go back into the soul after examining the body, and we'll pick this up, God willing, on Tuesday. Have a great day.